All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Monday, December 7th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. Great to see Andrea, who picked up a buck on the GTECH trade, GTEC. We'll get to that in a moment. Great to see John, Bonnie, Debbie, who I'll be talking to in just a moment. I look forward to that. Sharon, Donnie, Philip, Gary, Juan, James, and all of us joining us right here inside the Cyber Group room. Welcome on back. And for all of us joining on social media, welcome on aboard. So with that in mind, it's been a slow day, expectedly so. You know, typically Mondays and Fridays, the outliers of the week. Typically not a whole lot going on out there. Of course, there could always be something going into the week from the weekend, like, just globally or nationally, anything could happen. But otherwise, it's been pretty lackluster, right? Nonetheless, a pretty typical Monday to say. Ended up seeing the Dow drop off a bit, but otherwise, it's been pretty flat. It broke a bit lower, but otherwise, just not a whole lot going on. Now, with that in mind, we have Laser, LAZR on the screen, the stock showing up like, 25+%, breaking a new all-time high here, high of the day today, all-time high with that in mind as well. So, yeah, for right now, Laser, we're going to definitely put on our main watch list, LAZR. It's not to say it's an easy stock to trade, folks, right? I mean, you could just see based on the chart after 10:15, 10:30, once it topped off at that first high, roughly around 39.25, it started to drop off, but it became a very shaky trade, right? It's not easy, but easy enough to just put on our main list with it breaking a new all-time high, new historical high there. So with that in mind, hopefully this can make a stronger push up to 40. This is definitely more of a level 5 stock, though, just given the spread. Look how thin the order book is on both sides, the bid and the ask. The spread's fluctuating up and down as the stock is just moving in this tight range here. So for right now, just broke higher, which is great. You love to see this run even more, though, from this point, looking at the buying that came in. All right, so Laser, LAZR, definitely going to put on our main list at this point. Riot, though, RIOT, this has really been our focus throughout the more so late morning, early afternoon. It did pop right out of the gate once the market opened up, but really at that point started slowing down, really, after the first 15 or so minutes. So it ended up, popping, like I'd said, from 950-ish, moved up to like 1050, full dollar move up. Well, from there, ended up kind of pulling back and eventually, well, as you could see, broke higher. I was in this trade from 10:30. There was like a smaller, we'll call more like minor iceberg order. Actually, this is the point right where I had entered off this volume spike here. Once this iceberg at 10:30 broke, I ended up jumping in. It took a long while to get the gears going, no pun intended, but ended up making a beautiful long run up towards the eventual high of the day, 1129. I was in and out on like 500 share lot positions. I was doing 1,000 shares consistently, but scaling out 500, adding another 500. So all in all, I don't know my profit or entry and exit otherwise. I ended up entering a 1030, 1068. I closed out entirely, I know, at 1117 or 1115 before the pop higher, and then, well, eventual shake back down. I stayed out of this trade since, although there could have been good entry on this trade. It broke under and over 1050, but more importantly, actually, I'm seeing on Bookmap on our level 4, as we nickname it, there's like a 350, 400,000 share iceberg order on the bid. It was right there, like pretty much off that bounce point at 1047, held perfectly. So there could have been some room to jump in. I saw Norman, I think he picked up like 18 or 20 cents inside our trading room just before. But yeah, squeezing back up for right now. So Riot, definitely going to put back on our main watch list. This one a bit easier to trade compared to that Laser one, at least based on the spread, the liquidity on the book. Norman says I was right on the dot with that 18 cents. He's also saying OBLN's moving up right now. So, you know what? Let's go to OBLN here. It's number 1 on the gainers list. We will go from top to bottom, but I did want to get to this. OBLN perhaps will have more time to cover inside our Traders Talk workshop tomorrow. I didn't see any news that led to this run up, but nonetheless, it was one of the better trades, of course, from today. Ended up making a breakout eventually above 175. I think that was 175 or 180. I mean, really, once it broke that top, it took off, but eventually, squeezed up much higher. So I want to go over this really quick because it is making a move up to a critical level right now, actually. Not 250, but 255. So 255 was like a really strong top on the chart earlier today, right where we thought this thing would kind of just like, break out higher. It topped off at this 255 perfectly each and every time. So it was pretty annoying in that regard. Eventually did break over 255 and ran up to a high of the day, 313. But given how strong that level was just at the time, you still have to respect that. It did make a false breakout over that price. It pulled right back down. So 255, really strong level. Look what's happening here. Right? So Norman, good call. OBLN, at least for right now, give this a second look. Normally for a stock that made such a big move up once already, trading 170 plus million shares right now, I would not normally expect to see this make a second big squeeze up higher, considering how far it dropped off already from those highs. So we will put this on our main list, just given this run up here. We'll check back in with it though at the end. If we have a really big list or if there's a lot that's looking better than this, then we'll scratch it off. But GTECH. I'm not going to put this on our main watch list for right now. I know that Andrea picked up like $1 on a short trade. He ended up jumping in, if I'm not mistaken, right off the snap below 10. And he ended up covering pretty much right over 9. So good decision from Andrea to get out. He thought it was going to drop off a bit more even from where it really did. But $1 on this trade, fantastic job, especially for how much this stock pumped up already. This is the point in the day where you'd expect to see this begin to pull back a lot further. So normally these stocks are hard to borrow. You can't get the shares to short. I know Andrea is using a different broker than TradeStation, so he was able to get the shares. But yeah, for right now, I'm not as keen to put this on our main watch list unless if you can short it. I would just probably move on. KODK, same thing. This from earlier at least. I do have some news on this. I will copy and paste really fast. So we're not going to trade this like I just said, but nonetheless, we do look at KODK here in this meeting. We look at it when Fausto does the morning meeting at times. So we'll just copy and paste the news just as to why it ended up pumping up early on today. There we go. So Eastman Kodak trading higher after the Inspector General for U.S. International Development found no wrongdoing with regard to the company's federal loan. There you go. So it did push up in pre-market, but it eventually dumped off, made the typical pump and dump type move that it's known to make, and at this point could easily just try and fill the gap further on the way down on the daily chart. All right, GMDA, nice pop earlier. I missed this. A lot of buying coming in, pretty much right off like 950 and then eventually 10. But it seems pretty flat for right now. I'm gonna pass on this for the meantime. ONCT, also not to be confused with OBLN, but ONCT also ended up making a nice pre-market push here. I don't have the news on it right now, but ended up popping after the open, pulled back. It did make that second run up that you typically don't expect after a pop and drop already, and then fell back down. So for the meantime, we're going to pass on this too. All right, Fate, F-A-T-E, pretty expensive, pulling back down. I feel like a lot of stocks are at this point. HCHC, just familiar stock from last week, ended up closing at the highs on Friday, ended up making a monster gap up in the after hours and pre-market and so forth. So, for right now, it is pushing up here. Maybe I will just come back to this at the very end. Not going to put this on our main list just yet, but maybe I'll just give it a second look at, afterwards. Got ENG. I saw Norman call this one out earlier today. Made a nice push more so after the market opened up. It did break out higher going into the early afternoon, but not much there. PLTR up over 15% still, pushing up pretty nicely up to the high right now. So, for all of us inside the trading room, I think that you folks should know it's a no-brainer at this point. We're going to put this on our main list. Pushing up pretty nicely. 10,000 share order on the ask at least at 27.90, and then probably a major resistance ahead at 28, you'd assume. All right, cool. Let's see what else we have here on the gainer side. That might just be about it as far as like familiar names. It's like CIIC, maybe. I see a bunch of those stocks on there. AFMD, kind of a familiar name to me. Pushing up a little bit here. Again, I'll pass on it for right now, though. And then from Juan inside our trading room, he's asking about the PPSI stock. So it's up 11%, right? So maybe it just wasn't up enough at the time as I'm like scrolling through here. But yeah, definitely good call. And hey, for anyone else, if there's anything else that's up, more than like 5%, pushing up like this PPSI is, give it a call. Let me know. So for right now, PPSI, I do like. I mean, for the meantime, this will make the cut. It'll be on our list for right now, Juan. Says Fausto called it out earlier. That could have been at like 10 o'clock. That was a little while ago, right? Yeah, that was a long time ago. So pushed earlier in the morning, going into the late morning there, 11:30 Eastern time, but slowed down and eventually broke higher. But, for right now, heading into the afternoon, like right now, this is actually where we would want it to be. So, yeah, definitely good call. All right, let's hop over to the losers list for right now. Like I said, folks, if there's anything else that's up, on the gainer side that looks good, let me know. MBIO here, down big, shortable, dropped off earlier today, already made its big move. Sumo getting squashed right now. Sumo dropped off earlier going into the afternoon. At the lows of the day right now, so for that reason, I'm definitely interested in it. Bit of a spread, thinner order book, but otherwise for right now, it is tradable still. So I will put this on our main list. And then DM down over 9%. Pretty flat, though. Yep. All right, folks, that's it. That's pretty much all I have, at least. So if there's anything, like I said, that's up more than 5%, down more than 5%, anything else that's moving pretty well here, like right now, let me know. From RJF on YouTube, I want to jump over to YouTube pretty quick. RJF asking, on ONCT, do you think this has a late day push up left to it, maybe around 3 p.m. Eastern time? I'm not going to bet against that trend. The way this is trending down off those highs, I'm not going to bet against that. From Norman, he's asking about Sonn, S-O-N-N. Yeah, up over 15%. Maybe I skipped over this one, in fact. But, it is pushing up to the highs right now. You do have an iceberg order on the ask at 292, 14,500 share seller at 3. Yeah, I mean, for right now, we'll make the cut. It's hard for me not to put this on our main list. Just hope there's more to it than this right here. I hope we're going to see another pop, more buying coming in. From Norman again, he's saying the MPLN more so making an afternoon move here to break a new high. Yeah, tight spread for right now. Order book not too bad. So same thing I'd say. If there's like a list of stocks that look just like this, then you might have a hard time picking and choosing. But for right now, both of them will be good. Then from David C, saying HYLN. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these energy stocks or Highland, I don't know. HYLN, though, making a nice pop. The stock got crushed over the last 2 months or so. You could see drop from what, 50 all the way down to sub 20, 15 bucks just about. So to see that type of range on the daily chart and with this at highs of the day like it is here, it does provide a good combination to see this make a nice squeeze up higher heading into the close. So we got Sonn, MPLN, HYLN, all look pretty good. I do like those. And PPSI from Juan. All right, I'll tell you, I think that's pretty good, folks. I mean, now we have a pretty decent list. I'll check in on the cruise lines, the airlines, the EV stocks, pretty flat. NCLH. Oh yeah, American Airlines ended up having a fantastic run today. Man, this thing threw me off so badly, though. I was watching this really intently going into the market open. So for what it's worth, look at the first 30 minutes. This was lifeless, just in this tight range. So you would hope to see this as the end result. It's not always the case, though. So, heading into 10:30, 11 o'clock, once this broke out, I was in this trade. I got out way too early. I got out at 1682 or 1679, somewhere around there. I thought it was going to eventually pull back, and it kept going. So this thing, man, just made a fantastic push. For what it's worth, it is still tradable, but I feel like it's traded a lot of volume today. So for right now, we'll kind of keep this on the side. But definitely this week, American Airlines in particular, I'm going to keep a good eye on. All right. I think that just about does it, folks. I will check out NEO, the EV stocks, like I'd said. But yeah, NEO kind of holding its own, I guess, for right now. Did pop after the market opened. Pretty flat, but hasn't totally tanked yet. So I'll say that. Oh, that's right. I was going to go to space here to finish things up myself. So space, I'm pretty happy. I reminded myself here. So space definitely going to put on our main watch list at the highs right now, up over 13%. We had this on our screen going into the afternoon meeting. I flipped it over to the laser trade right before I started. So, space we were watching heading into this meeting, we'll continue to watch here heading into the close. All right, for all of us on social media, if you'd like to join us weekdays, Monday to Friday, inside our Cyber Group Trading Room, make sure that you go to the link down below in the banner, cybertradinguniversity.com/trial to sign up today. Otherwise, for all of us inside the trading room here, I'm going to copy and tweet the picks out. I'm going to jump on a coaching call myself shortly. I'll be back on at 3:30, heading into the final 30 minutes of the day. Take care.